Good evening, everybody, and good evening to our officers. I don't think we have any public in this evening, so it's just the members and officers. I'm going to ask that we observe a minute's silence in memory of one of our departed officers. So if you'd like to stand, please, we're about to start. And this is also in memory of our late Majesty. So I'll give you the, right, let's start now, please. Thank you. That was for Paul Neal, who sadly passed away on the 7th of August, and he is sadly missed by all his colleagues. And also I thought, although the official mourning period is over, it is nice to just remember our late Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, and to remember in our thoughts at this time. Right, now we go on to apologies for absence, please.
Received apologies from councillors Fitch Tillett, V Fitzpatrick, Gay, Housden, Lloyd, Spagnola and Toy. And Yassimi.
Yes, I think so. If we go to the minutes, please, to confirm the minutes held on the 27th. I'm making an assumption that you have read through them, pages 1 to 10. Any queries on them, please? Can I have a proposer then to accept? Richard Kershaw, Councillor Kershaw, seconded by Councillor Shires. Can I just have a show of hands? Thank you. Confirmed. Items of urgent business? No. Any declarations of interest from any of you? No. Chairman's communications, here we go. I haven't had such a busy time this time. Yeah. So, welcome, it says. Anything happening? Or is this very quick Chairman's communications? The Gresham Hall Farm and Workhouse Museum. I went with my daughter to that because she used to work at Gresham Hall. Very nice. And we had a look around the museum. Has anybody been there? Well worth a look. And when Emmeline worked there, she was very keen on the farm side, the Suffolk punches, etc. So one of them was there on the 2nd of September. So she was able to go out and have a cuddle. Can we have the next one, please? My civic reception. The Southern Comfort Mississippi Riverboat. I think a lot of you were there. And the wonderful thing was you couldn't get off and disappear. You had to, unless you could swim, you had to stay there for the whole thing. But it was a lovely evening weather-wise. And I think, and the Broads really were stunning. And several people who came over from the West said that they hadn't been for quite some time or hadn't been, didn't realise that we had such a marvellous facility. Those of us in the East are well aware of that. So thank you to all of you who came. And as you know, my two charities, the Priscilla Baton Hospice and MAC, and we raised £500 that evening. So thanks to all of you. I didn't win a prize. That's it. Can we move on then, please? This was the reading of the proclamation, which I carried out on the 11th of September, and Steve manfully helped me with the wreath. And it was a very, very pleasant occasion again. The weather was lovely, and then we had tea and biscuits. Yummy, very nice, but a sad time, really. Right, next one. This was at St Mary's Church, Matthew. We went to the commemoration for Her Majesty, which again was very nice, and lots of people there. Very good to see that. And I'm sure that was repeated throughout Norfolk, not just North Norfolk. Okay, next one. Yes, this was a very nice evening at Hurst's Farm Shop. I'd never heard of it before, but it is in, what's its name? Ormsby St Margaret. And we had a trip out on a trailer at the back of a tractor into a field with cows, and to talk about local farming and how it's affected by whatever's going on with the economy, etc. And then back to the farm shop for some nibbles and coffee and Prosecco. Next one, please. This was on Sunday, and I went with Marion Millership. Do any of you remember Marion? She wanted to come along. This was at the cathedral, and it was a lovely service. It was Harvest Festival, and we had all the old favourites. We plough the fields and scatter and all things bright and beautiful and everything else. It's only an hour, but very good. And we dropped off our donations for the mobile food bus. Nourishing Norfolk looks at providing people who are not coping terribly well financially with the ability to have food presented to them, but they pay a small amount of money. It's to stop this feeling that they're getting charity. And they're setting up food hubs. So that was extremely good. And I think that's it now. I'm on, oh no, my charity quiz night. Now, look here, all of you. It's at Stalham Town Hall on the 22nd. Unfortunately, there is another quiz night being held by the church at Sutton, which I don't know. Anyway, obviously the money is going to the two charities. There will be leaflets there explaining about the two charities. Tea, coffee and cakes. I think Marion is providing the cakes. And if you know Marion's cake baking, I can assure you it's very nice. And I would love to see as many of you as possible. If you are around in the area, then please do try and tip up, because it's for a very good cause. That's it. And then I'm off again for the next round tomorrow. So thank you very much for that. We now go on to the leaders' announcements. Tim.
Thank you. It's been a very difficult period for both the council, the country and beyond. I also too want to pay tribute to Paul Neal, who worked for this council. My thoughts continue to be with his family, his friends and colleagues. We have, of course, seen a very moving effort across the district to commemorate the life of the Queen during her remarkable length of service to this country and Commonwealth. And I am grateful to Kay and other staff here at the council who have enabled us to take part in those commemorations during the period of mourning and also the proclamation of King Charles. We have been moved by the events in Pakistan and the continuing events in Ukraine. I learned recently that North Norfolk had the second highest number of guests across the district from Ukraine. Whether this is due to the generosity, across Norfolk, whether this is due to the generosity of people in North Norfolk and perhaps the speed of the council and other voluntary efforts and the speed at which they moved, I think it's something that North Norfolk as a whole should be very proud of. On matters that are closer to North Norfolk, I am of course, aware of a number of residents and businesses who have been impacted by missed bin collections, which has been of concern to me. I welcome residents and businesses who have been in touch with me directly about this. We, of course, have seen the changes to the collection routes and efficiencies necessary to avoid waste freighters travelling unnecessarily long distances. This has emerged due to housing growth and other lesser concerns and will need review from time to time. Unfortunately, there were the issues with shortages of drivers, staff being unfamiliar with the new routes, and of course, the additional unexpected bank holiday. However, it is the case that things really should be evening out by now, and I'm monitoring this closely as the council seek to work with its contractor to overcome these issues. The number of missed bins are appreciably smaller than they were when this arose, and I hope to see matters get back to normal very soon. I am also looking forward to my expectation of joining a freighter on a collection round to gain a better understanding of some of the challenges that they face myself. I wanted to say a special thanks to our legal team, and they've made some tremendous progress on some long-standing challenges in the last period, which I know has been recognised elsewhere in the council already at a committee. And secondly, to our estates team, who have been incredibly busy, as many of you know. I'm very pleased to see the sale of the Parkland site, which has been completed, and of course, giving the council a significant a capital receipt of £1.7 million. And last, I actually wanted to congratulate a member for their appointment at another public service body, but one we very much recognise for its value to the county, and that's Jeremy for his recent appointment to the role of substantive station manager. So congratulations to you. I saw that pop up and very pleased for you. Thank you. And that was all from me. Thank you very much.
Like to give my congratulations and support for officers in this establishment, because they work extremely hard, and we tend to overlook the fact that sometimes they're understaffed. There's also the fact of problems that occur on a daily basis, either, as you said, with bin collections, with lorries being breaking down or in the wrong place at the wrong time, or with IT, they have breakdowns, etc. But they do work hard, and the last thing we want is to diss them. And also they have to, if they're answering the phone, put up with quite a lot of abuse sometimes from the public. The public can be really unpleasant, and it's not necessary, because they're just the front men. They're not the people who are dealing with the actual problems. So I just wanted to say that this is being put out live, and I hope people take note of it. Public questions and statements. No. Appointments to committees. Tim, could you please bring this in?
Yes, just bear with me a second. I just wanted to say that Harry Blathwaite will be appointed to the WASH and Norfolk Coast Marine Special and Area of Conservation Management Group and the Coastal Partnership East body. So they were the changes that I wanted to bring to your attention. Thank you.
Who is he? Substitute?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Thank you. We now pass to the portfolio reports. To receive members, cabinet members' reports. Can I please also just remind you again that this is a 30-minute session, and we do expect you to hold to this. One question to members to cabinet members per member, please. You have the reports. I am taking it that you've read it or read them. We have three absentees, Angie, Virginia, and Nigel Lloyd, and they have said that they are quite happy to take, if there are any questions, they'll give you written answers, because they're not here. and it's easier to give a written. I don't think Tim necessarily will know all the answers to questions if any come in. So can we please start with who would like to start first? Eric, anybody else?
Yes, can I just add, because it's only just happened to the finance report, I am pleased to report that the 1920 accounts have now been completed and signed off following further presentation to the audit committee on the 27th of September, with the infrastructure assets, coastal defence assets were closed down, and the subsequent email, we've had now an email from the external auditor, Mark Oxon, to confirm the accounts have now been signed off. So I'm just giving you that information. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Councillor Heinrich.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. It's a question for Councillor Brown. Can you tell me how much extra work is being generated for our officers due to recent mixed and often deeply disturbing ministerial statements, the lack of clarity on the future planning policy from the government, and the many issues around nutrient neutrality, both in terms of our own policy making and in dealing with the many questions from applicants who are seeking further information on this singularly difficult issue? Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Councillor Heinrich, for your question. Well, the challenges are significant. I think we probably all acknowledge that from what we read in the media. Initially, there were challenges to the department, which were announced in the white paper back in November 2020, which faced significant challenges from within the ranks of the government. So that was effectively abandoned and came forward in the Levelling Up Bill. And we're still waiting to hear what the changes are likely to be in the way that the planning service is delivered. I have to say that during that time, our planning services worked extremely hard to serve the public and indeed have maintained decisions above the national average standard set for planning authorities in the country through that period. And our latest challenges, or more recent challenges, are from nutrient neutrality and also from the change in the Prime Ministership in terms of investment zones coming back into play. They're not entirely new, but no doubt they will be polished and revamped and rolled out in slightly amended form. The biggest challenge to our staff and the way that we work is through nutrient neutrality in terms of the local plan. Several authorities around the country are pausing their work on their local plans. We are ready to go to the next stage, hopefully in the new year, when we will have a better idea of how nutrient neutrality is likely to affect us. There is progress, very positive progress to report on nutrient neutrality. The experts, consultants, Royal Haskoning, who have been appointed by combined authorities in the two special areas of conservation affected, the Wensum Valley and the Broads, are reporting that they have now completed their audit and are shortly to announce, and we hope to be able to put this out by the end of the week, certainly on our website, revisions to the original boundaries which were rolled out by Natural England for the government. And it would seem that some significant areas, North Walsham, parts of the district near the coast, are going to be, which are currently in the area, although not on the coast, will be excluded in future.
Councillor Brown, are you going to be speaking for very much longer? Because I do have a list here and we only have half an hour. I'm sorry, I don't wish to be rude, but
No,
I would,
I'm very happy to oblige, Madam Chairman. So
Thank you.
I'll just, as always, I'll just wrap up by saying that there is also work on the what we call the nutrient calculator, which calculates how much compensation a builder may have to provide for any potential pollution from development. And we are actually likely to bring in a surcharge to builders, which is significantly less than the calculator imposed on us by Natural England. But there will be more information in that regard announced later in the year, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Brown.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Mancini Boyle, swiftly, please, if you wouldn't mind.
It won't be as long as that, Madam Chair, I can assure you, and it'll only be one question. Again, it's nutrient neutrality. I understand that there's a joint venture with Anglian Water and Natural England, which is great news with regards to mitigation plan. Can you give us more information that yourself and your officers are doing to try and find solutions? Because clearly there's a massive problem. And I do agree with you, the calculation from Natural England is way higher than what it should be. But it's sort of what ideas do you have to get around it, basically?
Thank you, Councillor Mancini. But yes, I would just clarify briefly the Natural England calculator we estimated would add approximately £5,000 to each new dwelling. The auditing and the calculation measures that we've brought in through our own consultants will reduce that by between 30 and 50%, which is massive in terms of affordability for housing and the implications of that. I'm happy to say it's my understanding that Natural England will accept our calculator in lieu of their own because it's evidence-based, and providing we can announce and demonstrate the evidence that our calculator is correct in any given application, then that will be accepted by Natural England.
Thank you. Thank you, Gerard.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Yes, I know. Thank you. Councillor Holiday.
Thank you, ma'am. I wanted to ask a question of the environmental portfolio holder. Is that all right to ask the question, even though I know the answer will be written?
Of course.
Is that okay? Okay, fine. I was wondering what the environmental portfolio holders' plans were to work with Serco to improve customer service following the introduction of the new rounds. The worst case I heard this week was from 2 residents whose refuse wasn't collected from the changeover date. So that's a very long time. This is despite multiple emails to customer service. I questioned the ability of Serco customer service at the members' briefing and was told that extra staff and training were in place, but this doesn't seem to have delivered the expected service, and I would like to be reassured mitigations are in train. There doesn't seem to be a direct route into NNDC for residents, so they are powerless to help themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim, have you anything to add to that, or shall we leave that for?
No, the only thing I would say, it might be
Tonight.
useful to get some more of the details of the people that were affected, if they still require some answers on anything, of course. But I support, your intentions to seek some further clarity there. That's absolutely fine. But it's better that that's a written response. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. Councillor Dixon.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. A question to the leader. This administration states it's keen to learn lessons from past mistakes. Can the leader tell us about what action has been taken in response to the external auditor's report of 2019-20? This is the results report. And in particular, where it stated that 2 councillors acted inappropriately. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. We've addressed these matters at the GRAC committee. As you know, I feel there is little more to say now. We've learned from the issues. There was some poor practice that existed from the previous administration, which has been corrected. We've moved forward and addressed our council's management structure effectively, despite the issues that occurred with the procurement. and that's been addressed. And there was no concern about the value of that work. We've seen a police investigation and an audit which found that nobody benefited, of course. And we really, as a council, want to look forward now and address the issues that are ahead of us, living costs, levelling up. We have the nutrient neutrality issues, challenges, opportunities, etc. Besides the audit recommendations, which we have acted upon long ago before even much of this what was delivered to members in the form of the audit report. You know, we've got a council that's functioning very well, achieving against 90% of our benchmarking figures. It's cost effective, and it does cost less than the management structure that previously existed, of course. I feel this is smoke and mirrors. The Conservatives have nothing really to say or go on here. And you know, we've been discussing the business of years previously rather than the challenges and the opportunities ahead. And I feel that's, you know, a lazy approach, to be honest, for the opposition to be taking. This is a little more than a distraction from the Conservatives have done to the economy in the last fortnight, which is frankly moronic. And people should recognise that the Conservatives, the economy wouldn't be safe in their hands here either in North Norfolk. And I think history proves that. I have little more to say on this matter, Councillor Dixon, but I feel we've done enough. The original contract costed £30,000 and has saved the council money. There is no question about the value. However, we probably spent 3 times that amount reviewing and investigating the external review, the audit, lots of staff time spent on connected matters, and even a police investigation, of course, that provided no cause to suggest that anyone had benefited. So I feel that's enough from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rest.
Thank you, Chairman. Question is to Councillor Seward on page 51 of his report. Very quick question. Under the estates and assets, and I quote, it says, former playgroup building and cafe at North Lodge Park, Cromer, has been advertised and expressions of interest are due by the 12th of September. Can we have an update, please?
I'd like to thank Councillor Rest for his question. I've been advised that at the moment, I have no details of what those expressions of interest are, but I have been advised by the Estates Department Manager that I will be briefed on those expressions of interest along with the leader of the council very shortly. But I can't give you any details.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Penfold.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. Just like to ask a question again on nutrient neutrality to Councillor Fredericks. So this is referring to page 29. And I'm just wondering, in terms of new affordable homes, do we know the number of new affordable homes that have been held up because of the nutrient neutrality issue? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Penfold. Do you know what? This is actually quite difficult because I can't see into the future. But at the moment, it's 110 affordable houses or homes that can't go ahead because of nutrient neutrality. But what worries me is actually the future of this, the future of market housing as well as affordable. With the interest rates rising, are developers actually going to come forward with a planning application where people have to have a mortgage? And with the interest rates rising, I just don't know. And I don't know the extent of how this nutrient neutrality clause is going to pay out. I mean, it's really encouraging to hear from Councillor Brown that the calculator shows that it could be as low as 2,500 per home. But of course, we're still waiting. This is dragging on, and it's just not helping the affordable housing market. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that, that's it then?
Yes, thank you.
Councillor Fisher, I think we've got some problem with the windows being open and we can't find the puller upper. Well, I don't blame you. You've got the three of them wide open behind you. There's normally a pole in here, isn't there? That pulls it.
Do you want to move forward so you're not under the window? There's some chairs at the front, or move along next to Councillor Withington or something?
Oh, have you? Well, Jolanda, move forward, love. No, come up here. Like, anyway, we're Peter.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. On Saturday, the beautiful harbour town of Wales welcomes its new lifeboat. And I'm sure there will be at HRH Duke of Edinburgh. And I'm sure there will be a massive influx of people into the town. So my question is for Councillor Kershaw, and that is, have we seen a recovery in the visitor numbers since the pandemic?
Thank you, Councillor Fisher. I have actually been looking through InPhase recently and note that trips in 2021, there were 6.02 million visitor trips to North Norfolk in that year, which is an increase since 2020, not quite back to 2019 levels, but we haven't got the figures for 2022 yet. In terms of value, it generated £365 million in that year. Again, an increase over 2020 and approaching 2019 values. The data we have so far is not audited, but it's looking like 2022 has improved. So I'm pleased to say that it's recovered quite well. Thank you.
Thank you, that's good to hear. Councillor Hayman.
Just a quick question from a point of information perspective, first of all, which is that if we don't use the whole 30 minutes and we still have time, can we ask second questions?
Ask a secondary question, yes.
Because this is the only opportunity really, or one of the few opportunities within the agenda to be able to question the administration and the portfolio holders. And there are obviously, because we've missed a month, there is lots of information here that requires public scrutiny and clarification.
Councillor Hayman, have you got a question, please?
I have, but that was a point of information that I requested first of all, so that when I started talking, the clock should have been stopped on the 30 minutes.
Yes, what he said. Yeah, that's absolutely what I said. We can have a second question if the 30 minutes are not used up. But the longer we hang around here, the less chance there is of using them.
Well, you should stop the clock when a point of information question is raised.
Have you got your question, Councillor?
Yes,
please.
I have several questions. The first question
There's
is...
only one question, please, at the moment.
Yeah, the first question is to Nigel Lloyd, which is about the rat problem in Cromer. I have raised this with the leader, but first of all, I've talked to the officer responsible this week, who assures me that work is being done, particularly on the west side of Cromer, where the rat population is very in evidence and has been something of a tourist attraction through the summer, but not the sort of thing we want to be known for. But there is a serious rat problem to the east of the pier on all levels. And I went to check this out for myself the day before yesterday. You can sit in broad daylight and see massive populations of rats cavorting on the seafront promenade, around the Red Lion. Yes, what more can be done on the east side of Cromer? And I appreciate the work that's being done on the west side of the pier with new baits, etc. But the problem is also very evident on the east side. So can more be done, please?
Thank you. Well, Councillor Lloyd is not here. Tim, have you got anything to say on the rats?
Not an awful lot. I mean, I do appreciate the work that has been done this year. It's been a very extensive process of baiting taking place, both in the west and the east of the town. There have been noted rat activity in a property known as the Donkey Shelter. Greg will be familiar with that. Most members won't. That's the furthest building along the east promenade, where you know, the building is underutilized really, but we know we've got a rat problem there. There's been a mix of traditional and borough baiting. It's been more extensive really than ever before. We've got to recognise though that we are only managing this issue. The food sources in clifftop areas, it's an issue in Sheringham as well, and I'm sure elsewhere, but the food sources are prevalent. It's not just food left by people, it's plant food sources such as Alexander, etc. You recall that's one of the reasons why we introduced the goats, was to reduce the variety of food sources. But of course, we've had a very favourable period of weather, not just over the summer, but over the winter as well. It's been quite mild. I think we're also aware of locations in the east that are on private land, but there have been some issues noted. It's worth having a conversation, Greg, with officers about any particular areas. You're welcome to have a conversation with me as well, that are of concern to you, and you know, we will try and come up with solutions that mitigate and reduce the overall numbers. In terms of other solutions beyond the baiting, obviously we've introduced the goats previously. You know, I'm sure we would be open to any expert advice, but I think we're following that very closely and doing what we can realistically, given the landscape as well. We're talking cliff faces, etc. Quite difficult, poorly accessible locations. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Councillor Cushing.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is for Councillor Kershaw, please, with regard to your report. I mean, almost actually, is that it? I'm all for brevity of reports, but I mean, there's really very little in this portfolio, and we have an update on the North Walsham Heritage Action Zone. And as you all know from the conversations we had in overview and scrutiny last week, I'm still none of the wiser whether that's actually on track or not. But is that all that's going on? If there is more going on, why isn't it written down here? Or if there isn't more going on, why aren't you doing more? I suppose my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cushing. There is a lot more going on. A lot of this is commercially sensitive. We have resumed trips to businesses. We've been out in the West. We've been out throughout North Norfolk District Council talking to businesses and finding where their concerns and worries are. And as you're probably aware, a lot of the SMEs are very concerned with energy prices. Even though there's a cap being put on, they're trying to plan for a year ahead at the moment. They know where they're going for 3 months with a review, and 6 months is not enough for people to plan their concern. And this has affected quite a lot of the way that people are viewing apprenticeships, and they're worried they're not wanting to take on apprenticeships and struggling with people going for apprenticeships when they can get twice as much money working in Lidl at this time when they're really having to put food on the table. There have been movements. I can announce there's a new film going to be made in West Raynham, not at the same premises, but not at the same studio. That's been passed, and we have had a more increase in hospitality. New companies moving in to take over the Pheasant and the Manor Hotel, and refurbishments going ahead. When I was giving a report at overview and scrutiny, I was asked to be brief. In fact, so I will continue to be brief and not burden the members with everything I do. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we are aware that there is a lot of commercial sensibility with these things, but still, never mind. Councillor Sarah Butikova.
Thank you. Would the leader agree with me that it would be helpful if Norfolk County Council could be more informative and talk more to us when they are talking about assets within the North Norfolk area? And maybe we could work more collaboratively to secure the best outcomes for the residents of North Norfolk with those. I'm thinking in particular of Holt Hall, where the sale fell through, where we'd asked for it to be used for refugees and were told no, it couldn't be done because it was being sold. That's one of the reasons. Thank you.
Yes, Sarah, I would agree with you. I think Holt Hall is an example of what things should have been done differently. There's opportunities now, I think, to engage with the community, with this council, the Holt Town Council, and others. I think I've seen the examples elsewhere, thinking of Gimmingham Road in Trimmingham, where we've also seen a site that was previously owned by the county council disposed of against the wishes of the local community there. There's every reason for the county council to engage and I think realise some good opportunities for those communities. Thank you.
My question would be for Virginia Gay, and I noticed in her report the quite worrying decline in sales for the Chroma Pier show this season and prospectively for the winter season. And I just want to know what contingencies there are, because this will put enormous strain on the operator. And I've raised this issue in a number of forums before previously. I really don't think NNDC is doing enough to promote its premier visitor attraction, not least of all because we sink such a vast amount of public money into it. But nobody wants to see the pier operator and the theatre go under. But I do think it's incumbent upon the portfolio holder and the council to do more to promote the shows and to support them. And I don't see an awful lot of that on the website, for example, for NNDC. And I think that as it's our principal subcontracted operation, that we really ought to be supporting the operators in every way that we possibly can. And I don't see that there. So I'd like a reply as to what more could be done. And I'd also like a reply that gives some notice to what sort of contingencies there might be in place were the operator to fail.
Thank you. Councillor Gay did ring me today and say that she's quite happy to give you a written report to any questions. Thank you. That is the end of the Cabinet members' reports. We now go on to recommendations from Cabinet, number 11.
Were there no more questions from anyone?
How much time? I'm going with the clock here.
Oh, right, my clock says.
No, no. How much have you got time there? No.
I'm just checking.
Eric. Please, outturn report 2021-22.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. The outturn report has been before Cabinet. It's also been before the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. The recommendations were set out here, was what was approved by Cabinet. And unless I'm corrected by the Chair of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, I believe those recommendations were also accepted by them. So I move the recommendations.
Thank you. As you can see at section A, resolved to recommend the following to full council. We'll take the vote en bloc for numbers 1 to 7. Can I have a proposer to accept this? Councillor Seward, seconder. Councillor Heinrich. Is this a roll call or show of hands? Right, could we have a show of hands to accept this? That's one. Councillor Haynes not voted. There's one abstention. Thank you, so that's passed. Carried. We now go over to budget monitoring 2022-23, period 4. We now take these individually. Eric B.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. Budget monitoring report has been both to Cabinet and also to the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Resolution in front of you is recommended by the Cabinet. It's for an extra sum to be released to repair a wall at Fakenham Connect, which we're obliged to do, and therefore I move the resolution.
Thank you. This is to approve. A proposer, please, for this one. Councillor Shire, seconder. Councillor Punchard. Show of hands to resolve to accept this, to recommendation.
29 for 1 abstention.
No, and 2. You're not. No. Against. One against. Abstention? Okay. Treasury Management Annual Report. Resolved, please, Eric.
Yes, again, this has been both to the Cabinet and Overview and Scrutiny Committee, and I move the resolution that's in front of the council tonight. So I propose it, Madam Chairman.
This is to propose that the annual report for 21-22 is approved. Proposer?
I propose.
Eric, sorry, Eric, yes. And seconder? Councillor Rest. Show of hands, please, to accept this. One abstention. Debt recovery, 21-22. Eric, please.
Again, this has been to the Cabinet and the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, and I move the resolution and propose it, Madam Chairman.
This is to, yes, thank you. Eric's proposing, seconder. Peter Fisher. Show of hands, please, to accept this. One abstention. Thank you. Item 12, recommendations from Overview and Scrutiny. Nigel, I think you're going to provide us with a verbal update.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mercifully, I can spare you minutes because I have nothing to add to what's already been reported by Councillor Seward in the 4 items that you voted on. So they are the recommendations from Overview and Scrutiny Committee, and I have nothing more to add.
Oh, thank
Obviously
you.
got them right.
Thank you. Right, well, then we now go on to number 13, Community Governance Review. Who's taking this one? You are. Thank you, Steve.
Good evening, members. This report has been brought to you at the request of Trunch Parish Council. It currently has a number of vacancies within its elected membership of 11 parish councillors. The request has come to us in advance of the parish council elections to be held in May of next year. The proposal was to reduce the number of parish councillors from 11 to 7. The work that your electoral services team have undertaken is in analysing that request or considering that request is detailed at Appendix 1, and their recommendation is that the number should be reduced to 9 parish councillors moving forward. There is a period of formal consultation that is required. So the request to you this evening is that the authority moves forward with a community governance review for Trunch Parish Council to have 9 members from the local government elections on the 4th of May 2023, with that consultation being undertaken in the next few weeks, such that any consultation responses be considered and a move to any change be implemented for the May elections next year, if there is community support for that proposition. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hayman.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to urge members to support this proposal. It's one of the parishes that I represent. They have struggled, as I'm sure perhaps other parishes have, to fill all their vacancies, and their concern is that they would be seriously, without this going through, they would be seriously short of quorums for meetings and therefore not be able to conduct business appropriately and properly. But it is a worry, I think, more generally, that we're not encouraging people to come forward to serve on local parishes. And I do think some thought is needed to give to that, to encourage perhaps hybrid meetings and different ways of involvement. I mean, there was quite high levels of involvement and attendance at meetings during the COVID period when people could attend virtually. But since we are now out of that, numbers have slumped dramatically, which is partly the consequent request that you have to reduce numbers. As I say, the parish wanted it reduced to 7 to give them a fighting chance of having a decent number of people serving and a decent quorum available, but they would settle for 9 as per the recommendation. So I urge members to support that if possible.
Thank you, Councillor Hayman. Steve, do you want to say anything further for that?
The council has, thank you, Chair. The council has already undertaken one prospective candidates evening briefing event. Last Wednesday, there is a further briefing event for this Friday, the 7th of October, between 10 a.m. And midday, both in person here in this chamber and over Zoom. That's for people that may wish to consider standing as a district councillor at the district council elections on the 4th of May next year. I've also written to the clerks and chairs of each parish council in the district, advising them of their responsibility in terms of democratic renewal to encourage people to put themselves forward at the nomination process next March to serve on town and parish councils. And if the number of potential candidates that offer themselves up as a result of that process exceeds the number of vacancies in any parish or town ward, they can be in a contested election at the same time as the local government elections on the 4th of May. So I've encouraged clerks or reminded them of their responsibilities to promote those opportunities through parish council newsletters, on parish notice boards and at parish council meetings in the weeks and months ahead. And that's something that I can do as the returning officer through the electoral services team, and each of you can do within your communities. And the town and parish council forum that is to be held on Monday of next week is similarly outlining to parish clerks and chairs the process of nomination and the assistance that can be made available through either the democratic services team or the electoral services team here at the district council any time between now and those elections next May. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Blathwaite.
Yeah, I would just like to say that I think it's incumbent on us all in this room to attend parish council meetings along with our colleagues in the county council, because that increases the relevance of parish councils and the strong liaison between representatives at district and county level increases that relevance. So I would encourage all of us in here to attend as many parish council meetings as possible.
Hear, hear. I agree with you. Now we go on to Councillor Penfold.
Thank you. No, it was just to, what I'm going to make that.
Sorry, just a moment.
Sorry.
Oh, haven't we voted on that? I'm so sorry. That's my fault. We need to vote on your trunch. So proposer? Yeah. Can we learn? Yes, okay. Okay.
I just wanted to say in relation to the points that Steve raised, which were more widely applicable to the work across the piece about these events. And one was partly it was a question: are we compelled as a matter of legislation to hold these events to try and encourage people to step forward? So that was a point of information. The second thing was, if we open it up, particularly with such a large geographical area, to have either hybrid, which I think is what you were indicating you were having, or Zoom meetings so that people could attend and dial into a meeting, we might get a better outcome. But I did want to say more generally that the health of some of our parishes and involvement of good people is being undermined by sectional and political fractionalising, and I'm drawing my attention particularly to the goings on in Cromer, where there have been mass resignations this year from large numbers of people who've been councillors for years, who have been driven out by the Liberal Democrat majority.
This isn't about trunch, is it?
No, it's a wider general.
Thank you. That's it's on the agenda, but it's not on this one.
Because that's clearly aimed at me. Besides Emma and myself and Andreas, there are no Liberal Democrat members of the town council. So I fail to see that we are somehow a majority, and there is a full house of 16 councillors, Greg. So I think the point's lost, to be honest.
Excuse me, but we are supposed to be talking about trunch. So I know, I appreciate what you're saying, Tim. So could we please have a seconder? Councillor Hayman has proposed that we accept the recommendation. Seconder, Councillor Kirsch. Councillor Kershaw? To accept the recommendation that the Trench Council is reduced to 9, could we have a show of hands? For the purposes of consultation. I think I'll go. Unanimous. Where's it saying purposes of consultation?
Chair, I do have an outstanding question that the Chief Exec hasn't answered.
So in terms of the direct question around the prospective candidate briefing, there's no statutory obligation on the authority to undertake promotion of those opportunities in any way, any prescribed way. We are 7 months out, 6.5 months out from the process of nomination. There is obviously, in terms of political candidates that represent parties, there is an agent in each party that promotes candidates to stand, and each party will have its own process. And for people who may wish to stand as independents, they can speak to the Democratic Services team or myself. So this is an early promotional opportunity. It could be repeated. It isn't a formal process, so we've made those briefing events open for delivery on Zoom to maximise the opportunities for people rather than them needing to come. So for those events, that is different to the conduct of parish council meetings, which do need to be held in person, as do decision-making committees of local government. That has been determined by Minister of State in recent months. There were representations geographically and from authorities of different sizes around the issue of representation and hybrid meetings, but that wasn't supported by government at that time.
Could I just have a
No, I'm
quick
sorry.
clarification issue, which is, given that it's not a statutory requirement,
You've had the answer. That is it.
well, it's a follow-up question, which is,
Well, I mean, there are other people waiting.
I'm happy
Yes.
to speak to Councillor Cayman after the meeting
Yeah.
if he wishes to a point of clarification.
well, I think it's one that all of us need to, we've just heard how hard-pressed officers are. I want to know if it's not, as it's not a statutory requirement, why we're wasting time and officer money
Well, I
doing
think
it.
You're wasting time, actually, Greg, at this particular
Well,
point in time. I'm
the office,
sorry.
the chief exec answered the question in a way, which was that actually the main route to get elected is
You've
by a
heard
political
what,
party.
The chief exec has said he's quite happy to talk to you afterwards to clarify this point. Now, we have other people waiting to speak. Councillor Adams, do you wish to add anything now to this point about? No. Yeah.
Nothing
Well, I
at
have
all.
somebody
I
else
think
still
we've
to just
passed
talk.
the motion, haven't we? So I don't think there's anything more to
Okay.
say as far as I.
Liz, do you want to say anything, or are you willing to pass on? Thank you. Questions received from members? Nothing, I don't think, is there? Nothing's come through. Opposition business? Nothing. Notices of motions. Now, again, we've got 3 motions here. There is a total time allocated of 30 minutes. So you could have 2 minutes for one, 20 minutes for another, etc. But I think, out of all fairness, just to say that there will be a 10-minute allocation for each motion. If you don't take the time up, well, that's fine. There'll be some time left at the end. We have the following notices. Number 1, freezing of council tax, which has been proposed by Councillor Rest and seconded by Councillor Punchard. Councillor Rest, do you wish to speak to this first?
Thank you, Chair. I think it's self-explanatory, what it says. I won't go through it word by word. It is short. I believe it's the amount of space that you require for a motion to be put forward. And I would just say that, as it is self-explanatory in today's climate, I think for residents to have some assurance for the future, it would be good for this authority to make that commitment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Punchard, do you wish to speak now, or do you wish to? Yes, okay, fine.
Yes, please. I'll use my 8.5 minutes wisely.
Well, you can.
A commitment by this administration in support of this motion would offer all of our residents a level of reassurance at this time when many people are finding financial things very troubling and rising costs and the uncertainty in the future. The only caveat I would say to this is if there's some sort of government order to the contrary regarding compulsory freeze of council tax. All I'd like to close on is that I would like to ask for a recorded vote, please.
Recorded vote. Fine. Are there any members wishing to speak on this? Councillor Stewart?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The motion puts this forward to the Leader of the District Council, but as the financial portfolio holder, I will briefly reply. First of all, it's asking us to give consideration to the freezing of the 2023 council tax when the financial planning process is commenced. Can I say the administration will be prepared to give consideration to this? This is always something that we would like to aspire to, and indeed in February 21, the council did in fact freeze council tax for that year, given the particular circumstances that householders were facing. If you freeze council tax, the amount of income that you actually lose is £230,000. The second thing which I just need to point out is that the amount that we raise in council tax for the district, it's less than 10p in every pound that householders pay, which goes to the district. Something like 85 to 90p goes to the county council and to the police authority. So it's what those bodies do that has a more material effect on what council tax people will pay next year. And the other thing I would like to note, the motion does say we fully appreciate that any commitment may be affected by edicts from the government preventing the freezing of council tax. Whether or not we're going to be able to meet this aspiration will depend to a large extent on the level of settlement that the local government settlement that we get from government. The formula won't change because no process has been put in place to change it, so the formula will actually remain. The key question will be is the amount we actually receive. For example, will it be the same monetary terms as last year, or will there be some uplift to take account of inflation? If there is no uplift to take into account of inflation, it's going to be a struggle to meet that aspiration, but let's deal with that when we actually get there. So it's on that basis that I'm content for us, for the administration at any rate, to agree to this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Cushing.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just saying on behalf of the Conservative Group, we're pleased to support the motion. We have, as you're aware, opposed every council tax increase during this administration, and during previous Conservative administrations we have a proud record of really raising the council tax. I think they did it once in 7 years, so we certainly believe that councils where possible should try and live within their means. So yeah, that's our position. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just add a point of factual information there?
Yes.
One of the reasons the previous Conservative administration was able to freeze councillor tax was because they got a grant to compensate them for doing it. That doesn't exist now.
Thank you. Now, anybody else wish to speak on this before I pass it back to Councillor Rest to sum up? Oh dear, yes. Just behind you, a little hand went up in the air. Councillor Hayman.
It's a point of information, really, perhaps from the Chief Executive, but also from Councillor Stewart, which is, given that we're not in the budget setting arena at the moment, does this resolution carry any validity whatsoever? And given the information that Councillor Stewart has just given us about the things that are incumbent when we eventually do decide a budget, are we able to vote on this, and would it carry any compulsion for a future meeting when it does set a budget to be compelled to adhere to it? I mean, it just looks a little bit like grandstanding, and I'm slightly worried about the process and procedure and the legality.
Thank you, Councillor Gay. I think our Chief Exec wishes to answer this. Councillor Hayman, I beg your pardon. Beg your pardon.
Well, I think it's for members to come to their own view as to their interpretation of the motion, but the particular statement that I focus on is that the independent group, or councillors Drest and Punchard, are asking that the council gives consideration to freezing the 2023 council tax when the financial planning procedure commences. Councillor Seward is your portfolio holder for finance. He's talked about the process that will be undertaken in preparing a budget for the 2023-24 financial year from the 1st of April 2023. So I don't think he's able to give any guarantees. The request is to consider, and that's the motion that's before you as proposed.
Thank you. Councillor Rest, do you wish to come back? No, I
Thank you,
think-
Chair. I don't need to say any more. I think Chief Executive summed it up very well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak on this? Right, we now go to a recorded vote. If you could. Councillor Pierce.
Just a question of protocol and information, please, Madam Chairman. If we're going to make a resolution on this to consider, can this then be brought forward for reference when you actually make the decisions as opposed to at budget time? There's no good making a resolution, then it gets lost in the mist. We're going to make a resolution that we're going to consider. I would like then, when it comes through to the next budget, that the officer member who has to look at the budgets reports that they've considered this or not.
Thank you. Now we go to the recorded vote.
Thank you. In alphabetical order, Councillor Adams.
For.
Councillor Bevan Jones. For Councillor Birch. For Councillor Blathwaite.
For
Councillor Brown.
For
Councillor Pierre Butakova. For Councillor Sarah Butakova. Councillor Cushing. Councillor Dixon. Councillor Fisher.
For.
Councillor Tom Fitzpatrick. Councillor Fredericks.
For.
Councillor Grove Jones.
For.
Councillor Hayman. Councillor Heinink. Here. Councillor Heinrich.
For.
Councillor Holiday. Councillor Kershaw.
For.
Councillor Mancini Boyle. Councillor Pierce. Councillor Penfold. Councillor Punchard.
For.
Councillor Rest. Councillor Seward. Councillor Shires. Councillor Stenton. Councillor Stockton. Councillor Taylor. Councillor Vardy. Councillor Varley. Councillor Withington. For. Have I missed anyone out? No. 1, 2. 29 for, 1 abstention.
Thank you. That's carried. We now go on to number 2. This council notes that families and individuals in our district face a cost of living crisis. This motion is being put forward by Councillor Shires and is seconded by, who's seconding this, please?
It'll be Councillor Fredericks because unfortunately Councillor Gay's not here.
Yeah, Councillor Fredericks. Okay, Lucy, if you'd like to go ahead.
Yeah, of course. As we look into our communities, we can see that people are growing anxious as to how they're going to actually survive the winter, which is not a position many of us have been in before, with escalating costs across the board. And when we've all spoken to residents, there is concern there. I've had to issue my first fuel bank voucher this week. It was actually last week. And whilst generally we don't get oil tank top-ups until October, Cromer and District Fuel Bank are actually supporting residents now with heating, which is of growing concern to a number of residents who have never had to ask for help. This week, I have had to support somebody who has literally had to choose between whether or not they buy enough food for the week or whether or not they put enough electric on their meter. And again, this is a circumstance that none of us have had to go to collectively as a community before. So the motion's very simple. There's plenty of information there, which I hope everybody's read and understood. So what I'm asking for is laid out in 4 simple steps. Our officers have done a tremendous amount of work to support our residents and are continuing to do that. We've seen recently lots of things coming forward. We recently announced the officer that would be looking into empty homes to support homes coming back online. We've got our customer service team who are supporting residents through their energy rebates at the moment. All our officers have done a tremendous job, and I would like this council to give thanks to our officers. Second point is to hold a cost of living summit. This is to bring everybody together who has got the power and the knowledge and the understanding of communities and services that are being provided, to see how we collectively can solve a problem that our communities are facing. This isn't about us sitting in this room looking outwards. This is about bringing all the voices in together to see what we can do together, not on our own, not trying to do anything. We're not superheroes and we don't wear capes. However, there are many people out there, many organisations who are looking to help communities, and we are stronger doing that together. The third point is to ask our leader and the chief executive to look at what we can do. The points are set out in the motion. We can always look inwards and acknowledge that there is more to do. And the fourth point looks to national government to really raise the points of what we collectively feel can be done to improve the living circumstances of our residents going through this. I don't really have any more to add to that. I'm happy to listen to the debate. However, I would like a recorded vote on this motion.
Recorded vote noted. Councillor Fredericks, do you wish to speak here?
I'll wait until the end, thank you.
Thank you. We now go to members. Anybody wish to speak on this one? Councillor Cushing.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have to say, as a motion, it does have much to commend itself. If you look on the recommendations that you are making, the Conservative group would happily support all of those bar one, and it's the one which I'm afraid gives us pause for thought and probably has to lead us to abstaining, and that's to consider reducing VAT. The government has made it very clear how seriously it takes the cost of living crisis, and you only have to look at the amount of money that is allocated. The government have announced with the energy price guarantee that it will cut everyone's bills by £1,400 a year to protect the British people from by reducing protect the British people and by reducing inflation. That's probably going to cost probably in the region of about £150 billion a year. It is also doing an awful lot of work to protect businesses as well. And that's also on top of the things which are announced. I think Councillor Shah's mentioned the energy rebate scheme. We have the energy support bill scheme, which is an extra £400 per household. The British people are aware that there isn't a money tree. And if you look at what we've actually, the government has already announced, and then you've got to add in reducing VAT on top of that. I mean, that's just tens and tens of billions more on top of what the government's already pledged to spend. And that's on top of the £450 billion that the government has already spent on protecting the British people through the pandemic. It's a shame the Liberal Democrat group didn't ask to actually consult us on this, because we could, I'm sure there's probably a reason there where we could have actually come to a meaningful point where we could have actually put together a motion which we could have all happily supported. But the VAT thing is probably a bit of the showstopper for us, which we regret. I think the other things in there we're happy to discuss and work with the administration on the pledge. I think there's some reasonably good ideas down there.
Thank you, Councillor Cushing. Councillor Shah, is this 17.5% VAT, which was in the notes at the back, did you wish that to be included in this resolution?
Yes, if you look at the notes, it's all laid out. These are the considerations, and
Yes, but it's not actually put down here, you see. In the resolution, we don't have it down there.
No, so we couldn't fit all the wording to it. So the points relating to point 4 are under the items for asking the leaders to write to relevant government ministers and local MPs.
Right, so it's implied, but it's not in here, so we're not voting on it.
We don't have to vote on the individual things. No, not at all. They're
So we're
things
not
that we
voting
would
on the
like.
17.5.
They're things that I would propose that we write to them about. These are things
Well,
that can actually change people's lives.
So
on a
we're-
daily basis. So they're the list of things that go
It's
within
not
it.
in the resolution. No. Councillor Cushing, it's just as it's stated in the resolution here, the 17.5 is not included.
My
Because they're
concern
just
is the
notes.
message goes out from here that the Conservative group is looking or interested in reducing VAT, and that's just a position that we can't support, given what the announcements the government have
Okay,
already made.
that's entirely
In
up
terms
to
of
your-
that, if that wasn't in the report, then we'd be happy to support the motion.
Okay, that's entirely up to your group. Did anybody else wish to say something? Yes, councillor Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman. There was
Oh, sorry, Eric, you wanted to speak first. I do, pardon? Yes, Eric first. I'm so sorry, Tom.
Don't worry, there'll be no fighting. Thank you very much. And again, I in general terms support this, these recommendations. However, just to get a little bit more detail coming out from this is that particularly the resolution 2 to hold a cost of living summit, the outcome of which will be reported to Cabinet along with any recommendations. I just wondered, when you have a summit, it needs to be evidence-based. What the outcomes from it need to be evidence-based, not subjective views from people saying, well, in my community, there's loads of people starving or whatever it is. I just think that it needs to be a little bit more in depth than that. And I think that when you have this summit, that it's evidence-based rather than a subjective view from individuals. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. You wish to answer that now or wait till the end? Let's wait till the end because I've got more questions coming through. Councillor Fitzpatrick, I apologise if I didn't catch your.
That's all right. Yeah, no, I had my hand up. I thought you'd see me at the beginning.
No, I'm
but
so sorry. Well, you're
it's,
just on my
it's not. It's
peripheral.
not a problem. It's not a problem at all. It's that I'll get my chance to speak now. Yeah, I think I'm disappointed that earlier on there was a remark made by the deputy chairman about lack of consultation by the county council. Whether that's true, whether that's not, that's neither here nor there. But there's a lack of consultation here with other partners in this because, you know, on Monday the county council announced it's using £6.7 million of government cash and putting another 1.2 million in for this very purpose to do it, and partners in that the district councils. So it seems strange that there's a motion brought forward that doesn't mention, you know, Norfolk Community Foundation, the work that's done for putting hot water bottles, grab bags, feeding people. You know, it's not mentioned at all. So what's the purpose of this? Is it actually a concern for the people that actually something's been done to help? And would this be a way of bolstering, or is this just a way of flagging it up as if no one's doing anything? Because that's certainly not the case around Norfolk. And unfortunately, this gives the impression that is the case. And I think when people are in extremis, playing politics with it is not a good thing.
Thank you, Councillor Butakova. Sarah.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I recently did some work with another council, and I would suggest that regarding the point made by Councillor Vardy, Councillor Shaz might like to speak to the leader of Woking Council, who has had a very good summit recently, working with all partners. And I think if the motion was written before we knew what the county council was doing, and obviously they will be invited to take part in the summit, I would have assumed. So.
Thank you. You wish to come back now? Everybody finished?
Councillor Hayman.
Oh, Councillor Hayman.
Hello, thank you. I'd like to propose a resolution, an amendment to the resolution, which is to strike out point 1. I do not think it's the purpose of a resolution from this council to thank one particular section of our workers. As noted earlier in reports by portfolio holders, officers were congratulated and thanked for their work. Bear in mind that they're paid to do that work, and we're all hugely grateful for the work they do across the piece. But I don't think it's the purpose of a resolution to single out a group of workers for a formal resolution. So I think that bit actually strays beyond the purpose of the resolution, and it weakens it And I think it's divisive and it's quite frankly wrong. So I think I would like to propose that was taken out from the resolution.
This is to strike out section 1?
Yeah.
Is there a seconder to support this? Yeah. Councillor Yolanda, I'm sorry, Stenton. I didn't know you was Yolanda, I'm so sorry. Councillor Stenton seconds it. Can we have a vote on this, please, then? Who wishes to strike out section 1, which thanks the officers? Well, I think we have to
Exactly.
vote on
Thank you,
this
Tim.
first.
I think it's possible. I think the proposer of the motion can say whether they would accept this without going to the vote.
I don't accept that we withdraw our thanks to officers.
In that case, it goes to the vote.
It goes to the vote then. This is to strike out, propose the number 1, to thank our officers for the additional work. It's been proposed by Councillor Hayman and seconded by Councillor Stenton. Could we have a show of hands to accept that this would be struck out? That's 2 for and 28 against. 20.
And then who abstains?
Right, 2 for, that's it then. It's not carried.
How many against?
How many against? So sorry, I'm getting myself all in a twist here.
16, 17, 18, 19 against.
Oh dear. And abstentions?
Nine abstentions.
Apologies, I should have had more sleep last night. Right, now we then go.
If there are any more
Just going to
questions,
ask.
otherwise we go to
Yes,
the substantive vote.
Who, does anybody wish to?
I just wanted to respond briefly to the point made by Councillor Fitzpatrick on what is already being done. I'm sure actually as councillors, we're all seeing a great increase in the number of people who are needing help due to cost of living. And I think that probably goes for all of us, possibly having those approaches. I'm certainly issuing more food bank vouchers, etc. I'm concerned particularly about issues like heating oil. There's a gap that exists in Fakenham and the Raynhams, where people don't have access to the energy bank that they do across the rest of the district, which is a particular concern, I think, to me. In North Norfolk, we can see we have a higher than average council tax support than in much of East of England. We're in top 10 households experiencing hunger and top 10 experiencing fuel poverty. So I'm absolutely in support of this motion. I should have said, I should just qualify that that's from LG Inform, that particular data. I commend what's been proposed here. I think it's absolutely the right direction to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I make a comment? The leader may have responded to something, but he certainly didn't respond to any of the points I made, because that's absolutely nothing to do with the points I raised at all.
Yes, it was, Councillor Fitzpatrick. You asked about what is being done
That,
already.
it wasn't.
Yeah.
And I think anyone that listens to
We
the
are now
recording
down
will
to the
find that it
last
wasn't.
10 minutes, and we've got another motion to go through. And we're now going to pass to Councillor Fredericks to put her viewpoint.
Thank you very much. It's been a lively discussion. I'm very happy to second this motion. The food bank are experiencing 40% more referrals this year than last year. So I'm very welcome this motion, and to bring all agencies, as it says in the recommendations, together so we can sort this out. Thank you.
Thank you. And to sum up, please, Councillor Shires.
Nothing about this motion is aimed to be political. This is about helping people and helping them feed their families. I'm sorry, hang on. Let me just wait. There's an interruption.
I'm sorry, would you just carry on, please? I'm not taking interruptions when you're in the middle of speaking.
This is just purely about helping our residents. This is about helping our residents feed their families, heat their homes, and keep roofs over their head in a really difficult time. The fact that I'm grateful to every single person that steps up every day across our district to do that, it doesn't need a lively discussion about whether or not I feel that we should be grateful to our officers who turn up under difficult circumstances with people they may not be able to help.
Right.
So all I want to say is this is about the people of North Norfolk and how we help them survive the cost of living crisis.
Thank you. Yep. Recorded vote, please now.
Councillor Adams.
4.
Councillor Bevan-Jones. Councillor Birch. Councillor Blathwaite.
4.
Councillor Brown.
4.
Councillor Buttercover P. Councillor Buttercover S. Councillor Cushing. Councillor Dixon. Councillor Fisher.
4.
Councillor Fitzpatrick. Councillor Fredericks. 4. Councillor Councillor Gay's not here, is she? Councillor Grove Jones. 4. Councillor Hayman. 4. Councillor Heinrich.
4.
Councillor Holiday. Councillor Kershaw.
4.
Councillor Mancini Boyle.
Abstain.
Councillor Pearce. Councillor Penfold.
4.
Councillor Perry Warnes. Not here. Councillor Punchard.
4.
Councillor Rest. Councillor Seward. Councillor Shires. Councillor Stenton. Councillor Stockton. Councillor Taylor. Councillor Vardy. Councillor Varley. Councillor Withington. 4. 21 for and none against and 9 abstentions.
Thank you. We now go on to motion. It's carried. Motion 3, sewage outflows data. There is a proposed, here is it? Amendment, I think, for this one. But first of all, we go to Councillor Withington. You are proposing this. If you'd like to speak to it, please.
We've had recent events in Wales which show, despite our apparently good results across the district, that there are still continue to be issues with combined sewage outflows. But I think the more important thing is that whatever the issues we have to be as an authority and representing our local communities, we have to be confident that the information we receive from Anglian Water is accurate and reflects the true situation. Recent reports coming out from both the Rivers authorities and Surface Against Sewage show that some of that information may not well be as accurate as it is being portrayed. We've started this process in ONS and we have been engaging with Anglian Water. But this motion is about us being confident that we can scrutinise them, that we can hold them to account, and we can ensure that there are improvements to our sewage outflow discharges. And to do that, we have to know that the information is accurate. And that is essentially what this is about. It's not about whether we are, whether we're not, how much, etc. It's about whether the information, the data that we are basing that scrutiny on and we are representing our electors is actually accurate. That's all I'd like to say at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Withington. So you're proposing the acceptance of this motion. The seconder is Councillor Blathwaite. Do you wish to speak now or reserve?
I'll hold my fire.
You'll hold your fire. Okay, so we now go to members. Anybody wish to speak? Councillor Rest. Right, Councillor Dixon. Councillor Dixon, Councillor Rest. Councillor Mancini. Sorry, are you talking to me? This is. You need to propose your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Having trailed it before my mention, I thought I should get in fairly quick.
Yes, absolutely.
Madam Chairman, I suspect no one in this chamber would challenge the thrust of this motion. And my amendment is about how the motion could be enhanced, delivered and included in a wider set of actions, which Overview and Scrutiny agreed with Anglian Water 4 months ago in May, when Anglian Water gave a presentation to Overview and Scrutiny on this topic. There's a need for current storm outflow data for more than just coastal locations, and I think that's probably one of my main points. It's needed for all of our sensitive chalk stream rivers like the Glaven and the Stiffkey, and the rivers of Bure and Ant and Wensum, wherever there are storm water discharges from water recycling centres. And I can't disagree with the emphasis that Councillor Withington has made with regard to the accuracy of data, because one of the requirements of Overview and Scrutiny would certainly be on receipt of that data to verify that and establish just how accurate that was. So what I'm really saying is that this is already work in hand with the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. So I take no issue, as I said, with the thrust of this. It's how we do it, and that we should include those other locations which are equally important to the coastal location. So this isn't an opposition in that. So this is about enhancing it and delivering it in a way which might follow a more orderly pattern than might otherwise be the case. Thank you.
Thank you. So you're proposing the amendment, which we have passed round for sewage outflows. Everybody had that? It's on the screen. Yes, I know we need a seconder. This is the third time somebody's told us. We need a seconder for Councillor Dixon's amendment. We have 2 or 3 seconders. We'll take Councillor Holiday as seconder. Councillor Withington, do you accept this?
I do accept this. I think it's for our residents, I think, who are really particularly concerned about the chalkbed rivers. I think it would give them a lot of reassurance that we are focusing on that as well. So I thank you, Councillor Dixon, for highlighting that. Thank you.
Yes, it is broadening it out, and we're all extremely concerned about this particular motion as well. I think all of us are. Right, thank you. Now, Councillor Rest.
Thank you, Chair. It's on the same subject. I just wondered whether the proposal would be prepared where it says that the information be reported to Overview and Scrutiny for consideration. We put a date on it to Anglia Water and tell them when we want it back. This is open-ended. This could be 6 months before we hear from them. I think it would be worthwhile giving them a timeline so we know when we want it back.
Steve, sorry.
I think that's a reasonable request, but in Anglian Water's defence, when you did ask against your motion that was discussed in November last year, they did respond very quickly in the new year, and I think it was our ability to programme their report to you that was the issue, not the timeliness in their response. So I think it's reasonable to us to lay out an expectation, but I think if it comes into the authority within that time frame, it's incumbent upon us to debate and receive and discuss that information.
Thank you. Pass that to. Oh, we have, good. Councillor Mancini Boyle.
So we have come to the end of the.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When
Yeah, well, sorry, just 1 minute. We have come to the end of the 30 minutes, but I'm giving you
I will be brief.
leeway.
I
Good
promise.
heavens, Gerard, I'll make sure you are.
Thank you. When I read this, frankly, I think I've actually got the right suit on because I feel like I'm attending a funeral. Monitoring equipment, this is an old trick that all Anglian Water use all the time. They don't monitor it, they don't maintain it. And frankly, they have they should be ashamed of themselves, frankly. absolutely ashamed of themselves because they have no right to disperse their sewage into our waterways. Sorry, thank you.
Actually, they are allowed to under storm surge, but I mean, that's something that we've all concerned with. Now, anybody else wish to speak on sewage whilst I'm in the? No, nobody's in the sewage. Yeah, so it's Councillor Blathwaite. Councillor Blathwaite.
Just to say, I'd be amazed if anybody would object to this, and I think I was going to mention chalk streams and rivers on the Broads myself as part of this in support, and I'd thank Nigel for his proposal and addition to this. It's easier for me to support. Thank you very much indeed. And yeah, just to say that we need information so we can make decisions. And if that information is not accurate, we make the wrong decisions. And that is in planning, and that is personal decisions, whether we go in the sea or eat a bowl of mussels. So I absolutely second this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. And to sum up, Councillor Withington.
I think Councillor Blathwaite just put it perfectly then. So I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to go to, is anybody else wishing to talk about sewage whilst we're at it? No? We now go to a vote. The substantive motion includes the amendment put forward by Councillor Dixon. So are we doing recorded vote or are we just going for hands? Right, so we're going for hands. Those who wish to support the motion as put forward by Councillor Withington, please raise your hands. That's unanimous. Thank you. I will just say something here before we finish, that motions are supposed to be presented within 200 words. And these motions 2 and 3 were not. And our very, very, when I say expert democratic manager managed to condense the 2 reports down to 200 words for the motions. So if anybody wishes to put forward a motion in the future, please take an example from Councillor Rest, who did do it within 200 words, and propose it, put it forward within 200 words. Oh dear. Right, number 17, exclusion of press and public. There's no one here. Private business, I don't believe we have any. So thank you very much. We're finished at 20 to 8.